Welcome in to the Kansas City Chiefs Report by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you in for Harrison Graham today, and we are reacting to Mel Kiper Jr.'s latest mock draft. Who is he projecting ends up with the Kansas City Chiefs with the NFL draft coming up in just a couple of weeks? We'll break down the picks. I'll share my thoughts as well coming up in just a few moments from right now. Before we do that, we want to make sure that this video gets out to the entire Chiefs kingdom. Look, I love the Kansas City Chiefs, not going to lie. You know, spent a lot of time in Lawrence, going to school at KU, and this franchise is so special, and the kingdom is what makes this franchise so special. And so we want this video to go out to as many Chiefs fans as possible. So here's what I need you to do. Go ahead and click the share button, click the Twitter icon, and then press post to Twitter. Tag me at Tyler Jones Live, and I'll retweet you. And the first 10 people to tag me and share today's show on Twitter, I'm going to get you a follow back on Twitter. Okay, how about that? You get a free follow. The first 10 people to share today's show, tag me on Twitter. I'll follow you back on Twitter at Tyler Jones Live. Look for that verified check mark. Let's go ahead and get started with today's show. So let's break this down for you. Mel Kiper Jr. of ESPN did a 2-round mock draft, first and second round, for all picks for every team in the draft. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go through these picks for the Chiefs and his reasoning for these selections, and I'll give you my thoughts on the picks themselves. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the first pick for Kansas City. At 31 overall, Mel Kiper Jr. projects the Kansas City Chiefs selecting Iowa State edge rusher Will McDonald at 31 overall, the final pick in the draft. Will McDonald, a terrific football player out of Iowa State, and I got to tell you, this one would certainly move the needle, I would feel, if you bring Will McDonald to KC. Here's more on Mel Kiper choosing Will McDonald for KC. The McDonald stat I love most, he had 10 career forced fumbles. He gets two quarterbacks, but also understands how to create turnovers. Will Anderson Jr. had just one forced fumble in his career at Alabama. McDonald is an explosive player with a high ceiling. The Super Bowl champs could add him to the rotation with George and Charles, and as I've mentioned before, keep Kansas City in mind for the wideouts in this class. That's what we call a tease in the biz. More on the wideouts later with Kansas City. I love that Will McDonald is leaving the Big 12 Conference. As a KU guy, a Big 12 fan, I am so pleased to see him moving on and going to the National Football League because he is an athletic freak. He has been a menace for Big 12 offenses to deal with. He is a guy that is a threat to make a play on every single play, which you can't say about a whole lot of guys. And you look at the career statistics for Will McDonald, they were very solid. In 48 games played, he had 34 sacks. Unbelievable. 10 forced fumbles, 7 pass breakups, 40.5 tackles for loss, and 125 tackles. Will McDonald is that dude. Mel Kiper has him as the number 3 outside linebacker and number 20 overall player on his big board. So to get the 20 overall player at 31, that's some pretty decent value as far as I'm concerned. He was a 3-time first-team All-Big 12 selection from 2020 through 2022. And if you go back to 2021, he was also named the Big 12 Co-Defensive Lineman of the Year. So I got to tell you, for him to still be around, to still be available when the Chiefs pick at 31, I really like this selection for the Kansas City Chiefs myself. What say you? Should the Chiefs draft Will McDonald? This is our pinned comment today. You might get an ad break. If so, take advantage of it. Get your votes in. Tell me one way or the other. Y for yes, in for no. Should the Chiefs draft Will McDonald or not? Let me know in the comment section. Y for yes, in for no. Next up, the Chiefs with the 63rd selection go receiver. That's where we find Marvin Mims, the wide receiver out of Oklahoma, with this selection. Let's tell you more what Mel had to say about this pick for Kansas City. Let's finish up with a playmaker for the Chiefs. Mims averaged more than 20 yards per reception in each of the past 2 seasons. He has a flair for the spectacular, though he had some concentration drops. He ran a 4.38 second 40-yard dash at the combine so he can blow by almost any cornerback. He wouldn't have to carry a huge load as a rookie for Kansas City, but there are plenty of open snaps for receivers who can get open. I'll share my thoughts on this selection by Mel. We'll give you some numbers on Marvin Mims in just a moment. Before we get to any of that, though, here's your chance to be a part of the show. Name a player you'd like to see the Kansas City Chiefs draft, whether it's Will McDonald or Marvin Mims or somebody else out there. Tell me in the comment section who you would like to see in a Kansas City Chiefs uniform in 2023. Name one player and let me know. Speaking of the draft, with the draft just around the corner, draft hats are on sale now. Whether you want the flat bill version or maybe the baseball cap style, whatever you're feeling, we got you covered. And here's how it works. When draft night rolls around, these are the exact same hats that future members of the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be wearing. So when you go to your draft party, or maybe when you're hanging around Union Station in Kansas City for the draft, whatever it may be, why don't you go ahead and get ahead of the curve and get these draft hats now? That way, you're the one that has that hat at your draft party, or if you're rocking around Power and Light District, whatever it may be, that you're going to be covered wearing this Chiefs gear. Go ahead and get yours now. What are you waiting for? Get it in time for the draft at chatsports.com/Chiefs draft hats to get yours today. That's chatsports.com/Chiefs draft hats. Now, one thing that I have believed in when it comes to Brett Veach in the Kansas City Chiefs is that what you've seen over the years when it comes to the draft, that Brett Veach has done a good job of, with the early picks, finding at least one weapon for Patrick Mahomes to work with every year. And in this case, I don't think that's any different with finding a guy like Marvin Mims at the end of the second round. And I think there's value in Mims compared to some of the other receivers. I mean, you've seen his career statistics. I mean, they're terrific, right? Nearly 20 yards of reception, 20 touchdowns. But think about this. I was talking to a friend of mine, Keegan Renault, who works for RPM Data, a NFL draft analysis company who does scouting and looks at all the players in the draft. And one of the things that Keegan told me was, outside of Jackson Smith and Jigba, the thoughts are that pretty much everyone else in the draft is a wide receiver 2 type prospect. They're not a leading receiver. So a guy like Marvin Mims, who you could potentially get at the end of the second round, he might not be that far off from the Quentin Johnstons, the Jordan Addisons, the Zay Flowers of the world, who are likely to go in the first round. So there's value in a guy like Marvin Mims. I know he's number 7 on Kiper's big board, but talking to some of these experts and guys like Keegan that look at the data and everything, they say, look, Marvin Mims isn't that far off in that he could be a wide receiver 2 type as well. For me, I look at Marvin Mims and I see an Elijah Moore. And you add him to this offense that's already pretty lethal as is, and the weapons that are there, Marvin Mims, I think, could be a very good fit for Kansas City. I like this pick. I think Mel did a pretty good job with both these selections for Kansas City. What say you? Should the Chiefs draft Marvin Mims? Let me know in the comments section. Type D for draft, type P for pass. What are you feeling? Should Kansas City draft Marvin Mims or not? D for draft, P for pass. Follow me on social media. Talking about the NFL all the time over there on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook as well, at Tyler Jones Live. And I'll see you next time here on the Chiefs Report. Thanks for joining us.